I'm so excited to talk to my guest today. You know him as the executive chef and co-owner of Manhattan's Blue Hill in New York City and Blue Hill at Stone Barns, located in nearby Pocantico Hills, right on the banks of the Hudson River. He has received multiple James Beard Awards, including the country's Outstanding Chef in 2009. And now he is the author of an eye-opening new book entitled The Third Plate: Field Notes on the Future of Food. Chef Dan Barber, welcome to the radio show. It's very nice to have you here.
Great to be here.
What is the third plate?
First of all, it's not a plate of food. It's a metaphor for a way of eating, a diet. I even call it a cuisine in the book, and I hesitate to call it that because it smacks of pretension. But I mean it as a pattern of eating that we need to establish to eat more deliciously, eat more healthily, and support what the landscape really wants to produce. So I came to the third plate because I was looking at what we might call the first plate, which is a steak dinner, what Americans seem to expect for lunch and dinner 7 days a week.
Not the hamburger?
Well, the steak dinner being the hamburger, it could be protein-centric plate of food,
Right.
With a little bit of vegetables and possibly some grains off to the side, some white rice or something. And the second plate is where we seem to be headed in the last 10 or so years, to name a number off the cuff. But that would be a plate that your hamburger or your steak or your chicken breast or your honking piece of 8-ounce piece of fish is locally sourced. The meat may be grass-fed or organic. The vegetables, local or organic, and instead of the white rice, we have some whole grains. But the architecture of the plate is essentially the same. And so the idea for the third plate is to throw things on its head a little bit and to change the architecture to better reflect what the landscape can provide. We're serving a parsnip steak as an entree, as a last course. So a parsnip steak is a parsnip that was put in the ground last March, and it was harvested the second week of May. So I say on the menu, soil aged for 14 months, and it is a parsnip that looks like a small baseball bat, and we're roasting it whole, like a steak, with some garlic, a lot of butter, and rosemary, and we're carving it at the table like a T-bone. It's not a vegetarian dish. We're carving at the table, but we're serving it with poached marrow bones, and we're serving it with all the classic accompaniments of a steak: creamed spinach and caramelized onions. And so it's a little bit of a play on a classic steak dinner, but it's the idea is to turn the T-bone on its head and to experience what our landscape can provide with the kind of architecture and proportions that is both delicious and truly sustainable. So that's one example of a plate where where if it's prepared correctly, we can change our expectation of.
I could
of a
see
plate of food.
I could see an acorn squash substituting for
I'm
the
thinking
parsnip.
that for the fall.
Yeah, because it's so delicious.
Yeah, right. And the challenge is, how do we construct that as a plate of food where if you're dining on a business dinner, you don't feel strange about ordering it. You feel like it's an adventure, but it's down the pike of what you might expect in a high-end restaurant.
So that's what the third plate is. Okay,
Yeah.
It's a new way of eating.
It's digging a little bit deeper into this farm-to-table movement, into this exciting, really social movement of engagement with a farmer or a landscape or region that grows our food, and becoming even more intimate.
So we are going to wrap up our visit with Dan Barber. Remember to visit Blue Hill Restaurant in New York, Blue Hill at Stone Barns in Pocantico Hills, and to read his book, The Third Plate: Field Notes on the Future of Food. It is definitely worth reading. So thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you, Martha.
I loved having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.